Welcome to another episode of Smash or Pass with JayBee,
Hey.
me Milly, and of course Smash.
Oh.
So today we are going to be reviewing Scooby Doo and the Samurai Sword. So this is, I don't know, it's like, I want to say the last one that JayBee was like there for in terms of his like Scooby Doo era. It's one that I've maybe seen a couple of times but can't really remember when, and so of course we often look to Smash for this kind of thing. Is this one of your more watched ones, less watched ones?
I'll say it's a very average watching for me. Obviously I've watched it a handful of times, but definitely isn't one that I've watched more often than others. But I've seen it a good amount of times.
Okay, so for those of you that haven't seen it for a little while, JB's just going to quickly summarise the plot.
Okay, so Scooby Doo and the Samurai Sword was released in 2009 and features the voice talent of Frank Welker as Shaggy and Scooby, Kasem, I believe for the last time in movie form, as Shaggy, Mindy Cohn as Velma, and Griffin as Daphne. And it involves Daphne traveling to Tokyo, I believe, for a martial arts contest, and by traveling to Tokyo, some misadventures continue and they see the awakening of the Black Samurai, and I guess that's kind of it for a general summary.
It is, so I guess as always, starting with the opening, we're returning to that cold opening style that we saw as quite a common theme, but then it did fall off just for a little while. They were trying to do something different. It's back again, and yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it starts kind of with the old man being a bit like, no one appreciates the old stuff anymore. And I guess I've been watching the Nikki Blake podcast a lot recently, and one of their things that they like to talk about is the life lessons and stuff that Scooby Doo teaches. There's like a full podcast on that, and yeah, I kind of feel that maybe that's one of the times that they're trying to put a life lesson across.
So in terms of this movie, we're in a completely new setting now. It's Tokyo, although if I remember correctly, they do go to Tokyo in the What's New era in the show as well. There's quite a bit of overlap with where they go in the What's New movies and where they go in the show. Now, was the What's New episode of this the one where Shaggy turns into a dragon, or is that somewhere else?
That's the same episode. He turns into like a Godzilla type creature. But yeah, they have been in the same location within this era already.
So it's a bit confusing, I guess. Well, I guess they're just using similar locations. I do believe that they say that they've been there before. There's like, oh, we're back here, or this time we're going for this. So I don't know. It could definitely be connected. But what are you thinking, Milly?
I mean, I'm kind of thinking, again, still on the cold opening. Like you said, I guess this is something they've explored before, but one thing I had to say is I think the villain initially comes across as quite scary. Just how they would do like the camera angles and stuff, it made them just seem huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it then like transforms onto the titles.
Yeah, like they were what? They were almost like a ninja montage, so like you were kind of getting that the kind of Clash of the Titans type music. Well, I was expecting some more watercolor themes there, which I think we get later, but I agree. This is very unique titles and I really do like it.
To me, it almost looked like the titles of a horror movie. I don't know why I got that vibe.
Ooh, maybe a little bit, especially because it was like almost like white text on black writing with like some visuals to the side, like action visuals. But then from there we move on to the gang arriving, and this is actually one of the goofier moments from all of this, because it was like, why do they walk in slow motion to like some action song? It seemed quite random.
My like initial thing is, why isn't the mystery machine there? They've taken it everywhere with them. They took it to Australia. They literally, wherever they go, be it no matter how far across the world, the mystery machine's there. I guess I just don't get why it wasn't this time.
I guess they wanted to highlight the bullet train. I guess that's quite a significant landmark of going to Japan, but at the same time, it's like,
Yeah.
you are right.
They certainly stylized it a lot more for that. Just some of the landscape pans they were doing of that famous train station and stuff where the roads kind of cross.
Yeah.
There was a lot of kind of different shots that you wouldn't normally get in a Scooby movie, I don't feel.
Oh gosh, yeah, and I think that only serves, especially like the kind of bird's eye view of Tokyo. I guess it serves the scope of the location. Like, it's not just like we're gonna keep it to one angle and we're just gonna call it, you know, Japan for the sake of it. It's showing the city nature of it, and for all we don't spend too much time in the actual city, it's like it very much gives you a grander scope.
Now, I know you're more of a Daphne fan than me, admittedly, but I was quite refreshed in that they were using like the Daphne's independent side of, like, you know, the martial arts and stuff, where it's like, okay, we're not just gonna take her as the weak villain, like the weak female who's just like the one that gets kidnapped and stuff. They were like, okay, yeah, we've in some Scooby things she's had this stronger aspect to her, and we're gonna use that in this movie.
I mean, I will admit, I think this has a bit of the same vibe, and this is skipping forward a little bit, but it like goes off what you were saying. I think this has the same vibe as Aloha Scooby Doo, where Daphne is shown to have this skill. For example, in that movie, it was surfing, and yet at the end of it, you know, here Scooby, take the medal. And I kind of feel like that's sometimes, like, you know, a bit what happens here. Like, it's Daphne that's going to meet her friend to join this contest that she's like, you know, she's like standing shoulder to shoulder with the greatest like fighters in Japan. And yet, if you look even at the visual of the movie, Daphne is way at the back with the rest of the gang and is kind of sidelined for the rest of it, especially when it's like versus the actual Black Samurai itself. So for all I really like the kind of fighting aspect, it does feel like they've just gone like, okay, let's make a reason to go somewhere new and then just make it about Shaggy and Scooby again.
Yeah, I mean, what did you think to the artwork, Smash? Because, like JayBee said, for us, I guess it kind of maybe didn't line up in the same way. It maybe looked like it was going to be another Scooby and Shaggy sideshow, and it wasn't. Looking at the artwork, you would have thought that that was the case. Like, you've got Shaggy and Scooby front and centre, and the gang almost aren't noticeable at the back. Like, the villain's bigger than them on the cover.
Yeah.
And yet Daphne's the entire reason they're there, so I guess that kind of doesn't make sense.
And I understand with something like Loch Ness Monster, of course, Daphne's the connection to why they're in Scotland, and that's, I guess, all she needs to be, although it would be nice to see some character development with the family there, but that's fine. But I do just feel that Daphne was kind of robbed of a more significant role in this movie, because she isn't just there because she knows someone, she's there to participate in a competition for, like, you know, for warriors, and in the end of the film it is not figured out by pulling a mask off and saying, oh, it was this person. It is literally a fight, and so to have the one character set up to go there as a fighter to not see it through, you know, in terms of that final battle, was just disappointing to me.
Yeah.
So in terms of the setup though, because I think we have kind of got off on a little bit of a tangent in terms of the rest of the movie, but that's okay, because I think that this sets up quite a nice premise, and that's one of technology versus tradition.
Yeah, I certainly think so too. It does almost seem like Scooby Doo's entering a new world to me personally in this movie. I don't know if you both agree, but I think that, like, you know, we talked about how at the beginning the museum curators like, oh, you know, no one appreciates this stuff anymore, and then that kind of new plane technology stuff.
Yeah, it's a bit like, and I don't know if that was like a stereotype of like, oh, I guess everything is more advanced here. If there are like, I mean, I don't think there's like Avengers type of Quinjets over there, but it was very much like, you know, oh, well, we've changed things around since the traditional way of things. You know, this is how we do things now. And I don't know, like, what it's trying to tell us. Is it trying to say that technology is bad, or, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, have they ever tried discussions like this before? Because we've had fables in the past, I suppose. If you want to bring things down to that level, Zombie Island was a little bit. It was diving into what it sounds like the original third live action movie was going to be, you know, like, don't really give in to prejudices, even though someone's a zombie or something doesn't mean they're bad and whatnot. And I guess Cyber Chase would be the closest towards that more technological, you know, technologically based film, but that was more like using the technology as a vessel to tell the story. Whereas this, I don't know, I think it sets something that it doesn't really see through, because it's not like there's this super technological samurai sword that's introduced in this film,
Yeah,
but
it goes
everyone's
back
like,
to legend.
yeah, and everyone's like, look, this is a technological samurai sword. Oh, you know, if you want to defeat the black samurai, you know, use this, and it just breaks, and it's like, oh, maybe we should have used the traditional samurai sword. Like, it's not really following through with that storyline a bit, which is kind of bad.
We start to meet some more characters as well then, because that's when they arrive at the kind of main centre. And again, I don't know how you two feel about the new characters, but I personally, I've forgotten what the name of, you know, in Chill Out Scooby Doo, there's that character, I think she was called Minga.
Yeah, Minga.
And we said at the end of that movie, it was literally just, who's left for like who it could be, and we just had forgotten about them. I kind of feel that way about some of these characters. I don't know why.
I don't know. Are you talking about the other contestants of the competition?
I guess I guess some of the contestants aren't really that noticeable, but also like I didn't feel any attachment to any of the characters, like the people protecting the scroll and all that kind of thing. Like sometimes when you see characters like at the start of Monster of Mexico, when it's a family, you're like, okay, my heart's pulling here, like it's there with them. With this, there wasn't any characters where from the start I was like, yeah, okay, I don't want it to be them, I really like them, or oh, they're horrible, I hope, you know, it's them in the end kind of thing.
And some like characters
Very
just
neutral.
have, yeah, like a likable presence. Like I'd say, and we said that instantly about, what was it? Was it Little John or something that was in Aloha? And instantly we were like, oh, they seem really nice. And here it's just bland. I mean, the closest to a somewhat likable character would be the janitor from the museum, just because they're a bit quirky. I mean, the type of character that I would have liked in terms of like Sojo, the kind of lovable, I don't want to call them a lovable oaf, but that type of vibe, they're just kind of annoying to me at the end of it. So, Smash, what are your thoughts up until this point?
Yeah, so a lot of it I agree with you. I feel like this movie is all over the place, and they introduce a lot of characters, and I feel like since they introduced so many characters, they didn't get it to give for everyone, so you don't really have this connection with a lot of the characters. And a part of me feels like they introduced them just so they were like, ooh, who could it be? You know, just to have a bigger plot twist at the end type of thing. And I do agree with you guys that I feel like they were trying to do this lesson of like, don't put so much trust in technology or whatever, but you don't really see it through, and it's weird how it works. And I 1000% agree with you that they robbed Daphne in this movie. Like, this was supposed to be Daphne's movie, and they were just like, no.
Yeah, and that's not even me being biased. Like, oh, that's
I
mad.
agree with you. Like, because obviously the visual for every one of these, we make sure the original kind of movie like cover is the visual. And I'm looking at it now, and Scooby and Shaggy take up at least half of the cover, and the others are just almost like background like characters. Like, to look at it, you could think that they were just some people that they run into when solving the mystery. Like we said, the villain's even bigger than them. It's kind of like, you wouldn't think that they were integral at all.
No, and like literally, you kind of need to squint to see them. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and like Daphne's, sorry, I was speaking so close to the mic then, but it's because I was just looking at the image. Like, it's not even like Daphne's further ahead than any of the, like, than Velma or Fred. Like, you can barely distinguish them when I'm looking at the screen now.
Yeah, and it's like, for the more modern movies, they've completely phased the rest of the gang out and like had Shaggy and Scooby there, which is fine. But you can tell from the nature of this, you know, this cover, that if this was made today, she wouldn't be there at all.
One of the issues I've got with that, okay, and this is going off topic a little bit, but I guess it's something that I personally think is interesting, right? And that is what you've just talked about there, the Scoob movie, okay? They remove Fred, Velma and Daphne from covers pretty much entirely now. And the Scoob movie is all about how they could let Shaggy and Scooby go. But in terms of the front cover, they've been, like, got rid of completely.
Yeah, it's a bit weird to like, sell them as the underdog in the film. Like, oh, no one likes them, they're useless, when they've literally been the main marketing tool for, like, the
when in reality it's them that's been forgotten and them that's been got rid of.
Yeah, like, come on. We need, like, some more... Well, I guess they did the Daphne and Velma movie, but we're yet to cover that one day. But we have Sojo then imposing a uniform on the gang, and I really love how Daphne was able to flip Sojo. That was the one thing that was like, yes, that's how to do Daphne justice in this. But, and I don't want to be disrespectful because, you know, obviously I don't want to like speak on traditions and everything, and obviously going to a new country and, you know, going into like a place like, because I know that my younger brother used to do all the type of martial arts thing, there is a rule and there is a code. So it's understandable that they would need to, you know, conform to the attire of the dojo. But in this instance, in terms of the film that it's presenting, I do feel like it robs the gang of a lot of personality. Like I've often said, less is more, in terms of all you need to do with Daphne is give her purple sleeves in the snowsuit and that's fine. But to me, this is just so bland. It's like, I couldn't connect with it.
I think this is interesting, and it's a good thing that we have three of us here because we can all kind of offer different stuff, because this is one of the rare occasions where I'm going to tell you that you're wrong, quite frankly. I loved what they did with the outfits. To the point where just a little detail that I really enjoyed was how for Fred's ascot they almost made it into a headscarf. He's still got that orange like representation, which, considering I think we're at this stage where it's the what's new outfit, so he doesn't even normally have that like ascot anymore, just that nod to it, I thought was really good. I mean, I don't know if the headscarf thing was something that you picked up on Smash. I don't know what you thought to the outfit.
I'm kind of 50-50, like, with you guys, because, like, I like that they got, you know, an outfit to match kind of where they were, but at the same time, I'm like, there's just some color alterations, I guess I would have done to them. I do have to appreciate, though, that, yeah, like, they finally gave Fred some orange and stuff, and but I don't know, I'm 50-50 with you guys on this.
No, that's good.
I mean,
it's a very even split with like the opinions there.
It is interesting, and I think it is saved for me by the fact that they do switch out of them quite quickly and they don't really go back to that. It's just for that, you know, preliminary introduction. It's just like, I don't know. It just seems, and equally to that point though, if it is so quick, then why does that happen? It's a bit like, you know, it's a bit like a YouTube thumbnail. Like, if they want to do something for one shot to sell the film, then that's fine. But it's not even like they have to take a physical photo of them in that attire to put it on the DVD cover. Like, they can just draw it like that or animate it like that. But, I mean, it is fun. And I actually do like the cast of characters that we're given in terms of the other contestants. You know, you've got that dog man, the other karate lady. Like, there's some decent concepts there, but ultimately I do think they fall into that territory of extras ultimately. But
yeah, to me it's like you said, there's some concepts that might work, but then they're like, oh no, we can't build on these anymore, we need to do a mystery. Do you know what I mean? There's some foundations there that you could maybe have done something with.
I mean,
but ultimately it was too quick. It was like, here's the competitors, they're all irrelevant. Daphne, you've already flipped the guy, come over here. And it's like, well, if you're announcing that she's the best already, why did you even bother creating competitors? It all just progressed too quickly so they could have the mystery.
I mean, I'll go as far to say that, like, this movie, more than any other movie, has made me wish that Supernatural was just taken out of it completely. Because I've got, and maybe I'll get onto this later, I've got this movie mapped out in my head in a supernatural setting, and I actually like it a lot better. And I do feel that, I don't know what it was. I mean, maybe Smash can like shed some light on this if there was any, behind the scenes drama or anything. But I feel like there's such a great non-supernatural story in this movie that the supernatural kind of gets in the way. And maybe if Goblin King did so well and people really loved it, like the behind the scenes people were like, oh, that really cool script you did for Samurai Sword, well, can we add this in there, can we add that in there, because people really responded to that last time.
Yes, like this is something that we 100% want your opinion on, Smash, because I know I'm skipping to the end far too quickly here, but for me, towards the end of the movie, I was like, come on, they unmasked them 10 minutes ago. They unmasked them 20 minutes ago. What's going on? We know who it is. Why are we like still sat here watching this movie? Isn't it meant to have ended by now? Like, to me, it was very similar to The Witch's Ghost, where you get the unmasking, the story's over, and then it's not. Which, to be fair, I enjoyed The Witch's Ghost ending. In the end, it was fine. But for this, it was just a bit like, oh, goodness. I feel like it should have been over by now. Like, I know who it is. How did you feel? And like JayBee said, was there any kind of behind-the-scenes stuff?
So that's funny that you bring up Witch's Ghost, because this movie a lot of times is compared to Witch's Ghost in the story writing of like unmasking halfway through the movie, but we're not done yet type of thing. But this one has kind of an interesting story because if you watch the credits for the movie, at the end, it gives a 2008 copyright date. And this movie came out in 2009, meaning the production for it wrapped up in 2008. So it is believed right now, nothing's quite confirmed, but it's believed that this movie was actually finished before Goblin King, and they wanted to release Goblin King during the Halloween time, and so this one had to be pushed to after it.
That is...
I'm interested in that because to some extent it makes sense, but then it also, like we said, we'd found that pattern where it was kind of like a really good movie, a filler one, a good one, a filler one. And to me, I do feel like this was a filler. And like JayBee said, to me, it almost feels like we saw the supernatural kind of aspect do so well in the last one. It almost seemed like they did have a movie and it was just thrown on at the end. So hearing that this could have actually have been done first is a bit like, really? Because it just feels like they took stuff from how well the last one did. Like, oh no, we need to go back to that supernatural thing. Let's throw this in here.
And I don't even mind if they want to end it with a fight instead of an unmasking. They can definitely do that. And they set the groundworks for almost killing two birds with one stone, because, we get a glimpse in the scene with Daphne versus Mayumi of that kind of webcam staring at the fighters, and I just think it would have been great to have a situation where the other contestants were needed. Maybe they had a bit of friction throughout the movie and they needed to come together at the end, except that they were all defeated by, like, they did action shots here. And I'm just imagining they could have made it such a cool mystery. Let's say each of the characters have one distinct battle style, like this distinct move. And throughout the movie, they all got defeated by, these samurais doing the exact same moves until at the end. And they can make it Velma, like, you know what, there's a reason why we've all been defeated. Notice how each of the moves is copied from these contestants and who brought these contestants together. And then you can have that reveal. And then you can get the fight like, oh, but Daphne just arrived. Daphne, they haven't had time to analyze Daphne's
so she's
skills.
the secret weapon.
Yeah,
kind
so
of.
she's the one that then comes in at the end, and that would have been great. They could have ended with a fight. They could have had it to be a mystery all throughout, like how are these basic samurai grunts defeating the champions. And that movie would have been great. And they have the concept there of these almost Taskmaster-esque samurais analysing fight patterns. They have a great concept. They just don't utilize it. And it's like, I don't know. I just have a visualization of the version of this movie that I've just said. And I really like the sound of it.
I mean, I'm going to say that I want to watch the movie that you've just told me about. I mean...
I'm not into fan fiction, but I might try for it.
Yeah. I mean, Smash, what do you think? Do you think the other kind of competitors were dismissed too easily? Like, it did seem like as soon as Daphne got there, they were like, oh, well, she's already done this. Goodbye to the rest of you.
Okay. So I'm going to be honest. I don't love anime. I could never get into anime. No matter how much I try, I can't get into it. And this movie, I mean, granted, yes, it takes place in Tokyo. It feels like Scooby's version of an anime, to me at least, and so I feel like they just had this really tough time of balancing like action and mystery solving, and I don't feel like they did it very well. And so I kind of feel like they threw all the other characters out super fast so they could be like, okay, let's solve the mystery now. But then they're like, oh, wait, yeah, we're doing the samurai sword battle at the end. Let's do that, you know? So I don't feel like they quite were grounded with this movie as to what they exactly wanted or were trying to accomplish. I mean, I like the idea of what, you know, they were trying to do something different, but I think I agree with you guys that I kind of wish they would have just picked either supernatural or not supernatural rather than having both and then making it all sorts of confusing.
Yeah, I do feel like sometimes it's better to run with one as opposed to both. Witch's Ghost for me just about managed it, but even then it's one that I can tire of quite quickly. Whereas the last one, I didn't think I would like a fully supernatural one, at least not on the scale that the Goblin King was, and I did love it. So I think individually they can do it really well. And again, Zombie Island, one of my favourites, and again, it's just completely, you know, like this time it's real kind of stuff. I don't know, I do feel like if they keep it in separate, then it does do really well. But I just found towards the end it was very, is it over yet? The unmasking was a long time ago now. Yeah. And I don't feel like we've progressed. Okay, you're now starting an entirely different story arc about a different legend. This movie was supposed to be over half an hour ago. What's going on?
I like that, especially the fact that like it doesn't need to be this needs to be the era of supernatural, the era of not supernatural. Just like do whatever you need to do to make it a good story. Like, you know, if you want to make it supernatural and it makes a better film, then yeah, do that. If not, then don't. And I think that this one would have been better if it wasn't. But equally, I guess they could have done a good supernatural story. But I feel like with all the conversations that were set up at the start in regards to tradition versus technology, the methods that they introduce of analysing fight pattern through technology to then ultimately be defeated by, you know, tradition is definitely, that is a great story. And more than anything, if they'd stuck to that, it would have, the theme would have been set up at the start and it would have paid up at the end. So dare I say, that would have been one of the more, maybe not the best, but the more consistent ones thematically if they'd done it that way. They just polluted it with, you know, mystical scrolls and green dragons and stuff, that it was a bit like, what are they trying to do? What are they trying to say? Yeah.
So I guess in terms of the green dragons and stuff, that stuff we're going to come on to. The next thing that I think we're at in terms of just following the plot along is we've got the ninjas attacking and the first chase song. Now, I don't know if I was just getting grumpy with this movie, but on my notes I put that the chase song was terrible. Like, I've gone from a series of movies with Scooby Doo, like with like the vampire rock one, the Monster of Mexico. There's just the Loch Ness, where like I love just singing the chase songs in all those movies. The last one, Goblin King, I got an entire like Halloween playlist from that one. And then for the music in this one to be like it was, I was just a bit like, oh, okay, maybe not. I'm just not there with that one. And then I also found the sumo scene quite strange in that. Because I don't remember Scooby and Shaggy eating that much. Did they before that scene?
I mean, I did. I enjoyed the scene, and I guess that like the eating thing can just be like explained away with just, you know, cartoon hijinks and stuff. Like, I enjoyed the scene in itself, and in regards to the song, for all I didn't enjoy it that much, it was one of those ones again. I don't know if you realize where like it kind of the lyrics matched up with what was going on screen. So they were talking about like rolling, and that's when Scooby and Shaggy do the sumo roly-poly scene. So I enjoyed the fun of the scene, but again, yeah, like for it being one of the songs, it was kind of like, oh really, is it this? But I almost got a bit nostalgic for the ninjas in this scene, because they reminded me so much of how like the Foot Clan were portrayed in the old, I don't think it was the original, but the old TMNT cartoon back in the day that I used to really love watching. So I did enjoy that aspect of things, but I guess, I don't know, I guess Smash is the expert on these types of things, because there's like a chase sequence in every, you know, TV show and every movie, and we've not really seen them all. So I guess, where would you rate this one amongst all the others?
Okay, I have to ask you guys, because you guys watched it. I didn't get the chance to rewatch it, but is this the song where it kind of like this lady kind of says like just starts saying stuff like hello, how are you? Like, is this one, or is that the next one?
I think that's the next one. I think this one is like everybody's doing the samurai.
Oh, okay. That's right. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Either way, either way with this music, I get the vibe that they were going with, because it does very much kind of fit that culture that they're in right now. But just for a chase sequence, I don't feel like it was very correct. I think I would much rather just been in like intense instrumental of Japanese music.
Yeah.
You know, I think that would have been really cool, rather than having any sort of words. And rather maybe use these music in just like a casual scene, maybe when they're at the restaurant, you know, it's just kind of playing or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree with you. Like, just JB's wonderful rendition of that there. You could have used that really nicely. How, you know how they did when there was in the Legend of the Vampire, where they had the rock, like everybody gotta go to that. Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna sing. But they had that just as they were doing the tour of the Outback and stuff. And that just goes to show that they can use the music really well without it having to be for a chase sequence. And so that, like the samurai song, it could have just been when they were initially entering the country, they were just building some perspective, they were looking at landmarks. It could have been, that could have been Velma's moment in the movie, where she's like showing them all the historical side of stuff, which could have later been alluded back to when they start following the legends and all that kind of thing. They could have done something with that song, but I think just because I look forward to the chase scenes, it's just like, oh, okay, this is what happened.
Yeah, and they didn't need to do songs related to samurais necessarily, like, and this is where, if we ever do like a revision movie or like a revision series at the end of it, I actually do think ultimately I'm at the stage now where I'm going to freely admit that I want to take back my verdict on Monster of Mexico, because for all I criticised that actually did do cultural music well, in that song that they played during that wacky robot scene is actually really catchy. And for what you can't really understand, it's the one that's like, I can't really, like, it's like and you know what, that's actually good. And so how difficult would it have been to find like a Japanese pop song? I wouldn't imagine that would have been difficult, right?
You wouldn't think so.
And especially now, I mean, obviously, like the new music has come out, but there was this episode of, I think it was Be Cool Scooby Doo that was set in Japan, and that had a pretty decent chase song. So I don't know. I don't know how difficult this would have been. But I think the saving grace of this is that there are quite a few of the kind of chase songs, whereas if you look at some of the recent ones, like Sword and the Scoob, there's like none, really.
I mean, I think Sword and the Scoob, for me personally, like, and obviously we're going to come on to this. This is like end of this year conversations that's happening right now. But I think the story with Sword and the Scoob and some of the characterizations maybe allows you to overlook the lack of a chase sequence. I mean, typically speaking, I don't think the Goblin King had a chase sequence per se. There was just a lot of music that we liked.
Same with Welker, I guess.
I was going to say Legend of the Vampire. The main song from that is them doing a montage. To me, the main song from that was the montage, though. It wasn't about the chase scene in it.
But it did have a banging chase song. Like, it really did. And I think it did only have the one, which was the one that I thought was the Hex Girl one that wasn't the Hex Girl one.
I want to say a lot of the movies, like the best songs aren't necessarily the chase song. Like, is it the Monster of Mexico again, where it's more of a montage that...
Oh, like Viva
Mexico, yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of preferring the one that I did an awful rendition of, but yeah, it was that one. And I guess if you... No one prefers The Ghost Is Here versus Terror Time. I mean, I kind of do. Like, I think it's more listenable. Terror Time just kind of scares me, but you're right. It doesn't necessarily need to be the chase song. It's just, I don't know. I think in these movies especially, they're the ones that you're going to find the most, because don't forget, the Monster of Mexico, Legend of the Vampire, and that were still in the classic era, I guess.
Yeah.
Like the kind of Heather North, Nicole Jaffe era. So it's kind of different.
Now, one thing I think we have to say for the chase song is it at least takes the story somewhere. Like, by the end of it, the samurai stealing the scroll, they get the ability to fly, and so I guess it takes us somewhere. There's the story of the sword. Sword of Doom.
Like the Sword of Doom, that Mr. Takagawa shows up, and again, the gang are in like their proper outfits now, so I'm happy. But there's like this scroll, and it's reminding me a bit of Kung Fu Panda, because they always have this like mystical scroll that has like all the answers, and they think it's stolen, but then like the real one's presented, and it's kind of a bit confusing because they say that it has to be protected, and it's this mystical thing that needs to be kept like secret, but then what it says on it is just what you get in a fortune cookie, like the journey of 1,000. You know, a long journey starts with one step. And it's like, man, I heard that all the way back in like Lion King 1.5. Why is this some secret that needs to be locked away?
That's, to be honest though, that scene is something I did enjoy about the movie. You know, where it's like, this ancient scroll, Scooby and Shaggy turn it into a dragon. And the guy's like cringing, like, oh my goodness, you can't do that. This is like...
I was relating so heavily to that though, because it's like whenever we got like the Scooby Doo cards or like a rare Pokemon card, and you were just there like rubbing it together, and I was just there like, no, stop, what are you doing? I could relate to that guy's pain.
Yeah, like there was times when... so for people that follow the channel know that JayBee kind of had a stage where he went over the top with buying Scooby stuff, and he started buying all the like piece
it wasn't over the top, it was for the binder,
the live action movies, and he literally couldn't watch when I was taking them out of the packaging when they arrived. He was cringing, he was squirming, just like, no, you're gonna ruin it. And I was like, it needs to be put in the folder, just look away, please.
Well, in my opinion, that some of that stuff just belongs in a museum, and just to see some of the fabric being like stroked up then stroked down, I was like, no, I can't do this, what are you doing? This is not right. But I did sympathize with the guy because I can relate. Although I do want to ask, especially SMASH, because I know Milly's kind of dabbled in this, but have you tried origami personally, SMASH?
When I was younger, I really haven't dabbled in it I will say it's something you gotta practice at and try different things with. Just what I've done, it wasn't easy.
Yeah. 'cause
Yeah,
I'm a bit disappointed. You can go first, but I'm disappointed at one thing, but it's kind of trivial.
I was gonna say the only origami I've done is, I don't know if you know the Paper Mario game that came out for the Switch, the pre-order bonus, because the game was called the Origami King, was origami sheets so you could like fold the paper into some of the characters. And I tried to do some for the channel, and one of them just wasn't working out, so I just ripped it into the shape instead of folding it. Just like, okay, that's it, I'm done. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Although that was our first video that got over 1,000 views, which was nice.
Yeah.
And that was all your concept, so you were quite boastful at the time. But we'll allow it. But what I was disappointed at is the last movie, Goblin King, was all about magic and the realm of the mystical. And so for all it was a bit cringy, it made sense that the bonus features were, you know, magic tricks, and I do still want to try some of them. And obviously this movie is about being a samurai primarily and being a warrior. But it's like, if I'm, you know, a kid watching this, I don't like getting up now. I'm not gonna like get up there, or at least make it too, because the bonus features on this was martial arts techniques, and it's like, oh, why could this not have been like basic origami with like instructions? I just would have preferred that so much to like martial arts.
Yeah, I guess I would too.
Because I want to try origami. For all I don't have the patience for it, I would love to. But yeah, I do like how it's Shaggy and Scooby that are doing that origami, because they're not, well, I guess they are at the end, but they weren't set up at the start of the movie as being the fighting type, so it's good to give them a use at this stage, but again, they kind of overshadow the movie towards the end.
So that leads them to the old temple of 1,000 steps or something.
Does it? Oh yes. They learn about the temple of 1,000 steps there. But don't they say that that's literally the Green Dragon's temple?
Yeah.
So either one, that temple has only just been discovered via the scroll, and no one's heard of that really until that, or it's like you're looking for the Green Dragon, and there's literally somewhere that's known as the Green Dragon's temple, and you don't check there first.
Yeah.
Like, what's the need for the scroll?
Yeah. I mean, do you have anything you want to say about the temple? Because I'm just moving on to the next bit already.
Wait, me or Smash?
Either of you.
I don't personally, but maybe Smash does.
I mean, I think for me, the movie just takes random turns quite quickly. Like, for me, the turn of them being captured by these almost tiki-esque things.
Yeah.
And then dropped in a cauldron. It happens very quickly. Like, they don't linger on the story for very long. Like, to me, it wasn't okay, here's the first clue, completed. Here's the second clue, let's go. We started to follow the path. We've now been kidnapped. It's an entirely different trajectory.
Yeah, like Shaggy activates the flames. And now, yeah, they get the tiki people. But there was not really a point to these tiki people, right? It just seemed like filler, like there was just something that needed to extend the watch time, which was just a shame, because it's like, I don't feel like there was a great need for them to have to do that as such, but I don't really know.
No, I agree with you. I do think this could have almost been an episode. If they hadn't put on the supernatural bit at the end, if they hadn't done the filler with this tiki cauldron making a soup out of the leader and the group of Velma, Daphne and their friend being like, oh, we're gonna be like married to this tiki man. If they hadn't put that entire like charade into it, it wouldn't have been a movie, I don't think.
So I guess progressing into the sacrifice scene. Oh, okay. Sacrifice Daphne. I need that in my life.
Catch up.
See, what I was going to say is I found the transition in and out of the, like, just coming into that weird kind of almost like Tiki-esque scene and leaving it. It just all seems so disjointed. Like, 1 minute the storyline's just not there. Then these characters appear, but then they're gone again so quickly. It all just seems really strange.
Yeah, again, it all just seems to serve, making the movie longer. And I think you were right in what you were saying before, Millie. Like, it could have just been an episode of the show, which isn't a bad thing. I guess the only reason why it isn't is just that they wanted it to be a brawl at the end. And I don't believe any episodes of What's New Scooby-Doo ended with a brawl. It was definitely a reveal. It didn't really dive into the supernatural. So it was like they had an idea for a supernatural, show, a supernatural episode of the TV show, then realised, oh, we don't really do that here. So we'll just integrate this supernatural plot into the unsupernatural movie. And I don't know if they wanted to blend it in with that, but... I mean, it's not a bad scene, like I say, I think this is a decent moment for the sacrifice version of Daphne, and, obviously that's always fun. I mean, what are their plans? Do they want to eat? They want to eat the guys in the gang, and they want to...
Marry the girls, I think Velma says.
Which is potentially dicey, right? Like, I mean... I don't know what is the nature of this tribe? So they're clearly, not above, I don't know if I can say this, but cannibalism or forced matrimony, and yet they're living in this the holy grounds of the Green Dragon, who we're told is a good character, is a good creature, and yet when they think that the airship is the Green Dragon, they run away. So is it like, well, if you're that scared of the Green Dragon, how did you even get to this mysterious island, and why did you stay? And if you are in the presence of this good character, why are you making decisions that seem quite morally repugnant? Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's just all
strange. It's all disjointed. Like you said, it just almost seems like some very strange filler. And as we were saying before, it's like, if you'd have got rid of the supernatural extra half an hour at the end and you got rid of this, I think you'd have been within your timescale for an episode and it wouldn't have been too out of place.
Yeah, it's a shame. But they obviously get rescued in the airship.
But to me, that in itself is disjointed, because it's just like the Tikis were this huge threat. They were like going to do all this awful stuff, and then suddenly they're scared, they're irrelevant, and we turn up at the next stage of the kind of clues and progression path that was completely disregarded for the last 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, this is the Sword of Doom, isn't it?
Yeah, they find the sword, and then the traps get set off, and we have a mini chase scene again.
This seems like the main chase song, though. It seems like, apart from, I guess, Loch Ness Monster, where the best song comes at the start, I think what's been more common is the best songs come in the middle. But again, this is another one, and I don't even remember this one, I believe it's an instrumental.
Yeah, it's not the words one yet again, is it?
No, which one is this one? This is just... I mean, I don't remember.
I've not even talked about the song, because to me, like you said, it's just some kind of instrumental noise as they're running around a little bit, which ultimately leads to the reveal and that the ninjas are robots. So to me, that's where the movie would have ended.
But, like, this is just ridiculous, because Sojo was, obviously, like, Sojo gets revealed, and everyone believes that it's Sojo, even though we're quite specifically told that Sojo just does what they're told. They're a follower. They're not really a leader.
This is gonna sound so bad. I honestly didn't care. It was just like, okay, they're announced. That's it. Let's just leave it. Like, in my head, like, you've raised some valid points there, but I was just so disengaged with any of the characters. It was just like, oh, it was them. That's fine.
Was that when Sojo was revealed, or when the Sensei was revealed to have been controlling Sojo, or both?
It was initially when Sojo was revealed. It was just like, yeah, that's fine. I don't mind. That's okay. It is what it is. I've got no feelings really for any of the characters. I don't mind.
Although I did enjoy that kind of thing where, like, when the sensei is revealed and, like, all the gang are going through the catchphrase and Fred's like, oh, I still don't have one. I thought that was quite funny.
I think one of the more interesting moments is when, like you said, the sensei's revealed and then Daphne's friends a bit like, oh, I kind of still need to stay with them. And it's just a bit like, oh gosh, what's this about? Like, no. And then obviously that kind of reverses a little bit down the line, and then that's kind of a nice moment. But other than that, that's the only time that any character other than Mystery Inc. actually impresses me.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel that, like, Naomi's new me, their betrayal has no emotional impact. Like, we're not really given any reason to care about them. They're not presented with a struggle up until that point that we can relate to.
No, but I think because we care about Daphne, we've seen her in all the movies, that for it to be her friend that's like, oh yeah, I can't stand with you, it's a bit like, oh no.
Yeah, I guess so. But then at the same time, for all, obviously Daphne's a character that I care about, you know that whoever is in this movie that isn't a core member of the gang is just, they might be important to Daphne in this movie, but just wait till the next one and they're never mentioned.
We're never going to hear of them.
Like,
I mean, what did you think to the reveal here, Smash, of like the
kind of double cross?
Yeah, I didn't feel like, honestly, any of these characters I like had a connection with throughout it. And so, I feel like it would have been a bigger impact had they given Daphne the deserved screen time in this movie. But where they kind of dropped the ball on Daphne in this movie so early, it was like, oh darn, just like, I'm sorry, Daphne. Okay, moving on. They didn't really give us any reason to care about this girl besides the fact that, oh, she's Daphne's friend and she invited her and this and that. So overall, yeah, I'm just like, I mean, first watch, yeah, it was a little bit like but that's all it was. It was just like, oh, okay, like moving on.
Yeah, I guess the more prominent reveal we've talked about a lot really at the start, but that's the robots, and that's kind of what comes next.
Yeah, and like I said, they were good, and I do think it leads to, I think it is that song that Smash was talking about where it's just the woman talking.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. It's like some airport type of like roleplay going on, which is like, hey, how you doing? Can you come to the checkout desk? Do you have your passport? Like, just some like weird random phrases.
Yeah.
But I actually, and this is where we, I think, disagree, Millie, because I quite enjoyed this scene. I thought it was fun that, I think it was like the jetpack scene, right, where Scooby's given the chance to channel their inner dynamo a bit and could fly about, and I think that they had a good spin on the hallway scene where instead of dipping in and out of different rooms, they were like going up and down, like, being like hidden by buildings and popping up behind other buildings and then dipping down again and then popping up behind another set of buildings. I thought that was quite a lot of fun.
I mean, I think I can maybe have a tendency to be a bit blunt with my opinions and maybe not as open-minded as I should be, because I only have 2 things left on my notes and there's still a little bit of the movie left. And the 2 things I have written, the first one is about this song, and I've literally just put words to the effect of stupid flying speech song thing. That's how I've summarised this, which again, bit blunt, but I just didn't like it. I just thought it was really strange. Like, the music in Scooby Doo, the amount of, like, for the movies we've watched, I've said this already for this podcast, but there's just been so many high points with the music that to just have somebody speaking, I just find it a bit bizarre. Yeah. It just isn't what I associate with the amazing Scooby Doo chase scenes that we've seen before. Like, you remember that conversation that we were having in Loch Ness where Smash was like, okay, you like the chase scene, now just go back and listen to it again and think about the lyrics. There's just been some incredible moments with the chase scenes that to just have someone speaking, I just found it so bizarre. And then the other thing that I have left written on my notes, and then this is honestly where it stops, is it's been far too long since the reveal.
Yeah, I mean, they go through an awful lot. Like, after this scene, we go to...
There's another song after this, the lava scene thing.
But this is like a Green Dragon restaurant where there's a samurai warrior.
It's
that's
an
the sushi
entire
guy.
story again, like an entirely different subplot.
Yeah, and they kind of save the day, but then Shaggy and Scooby have to go on, like, it's like they told this entire story, and then they were like, oh my gosh, like the last couple of were like Shaggy and Scooby misadventure, so let's send them on that again, and they go on like a full-on
Yeah, it's like the entirety of their life within Where's My Mummy, they get taken to a different part of something that we didn't even knew existed. It looks like an entirely different environment and everything that they miraculously end up in together, like just living out their life. And it's just like, okay, we saw this in the entirety of Where's My Mummy, and now they've just decided that even though the movie's finished, they want to start doing this again.
But I do like the song that was playing when Shaggy and Scooby were surfing, although I need to ask smASH, is this a reused song from Aloha, or do they just use the most generic, like, I don't know how to describe it, but a surfing song, you know, where it almost sounds like one strum of a guitar, like, ling, like, I don't know how to describe that instrumental, but was this reused from Aloha?
Did they surf in this movie? I'm not recalling what you guys are talking about.
It's like lava surfing, right? Like, like Spy Kids free type of stuff.
You know, I'd have to go back, listen, because again, it's been a hot minute since I've seen this movie, so I can't tell you right now. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they did, especially because it's in the same, like, you know, what's new era, but I can't confirm nor deny at this moment.
Okay, well, that's fair. I mean, it is a very wacky scene. And again, my notes literally read, this movie feels like it should have ended 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, mine so too. I mean, how did you feel about this movie? Like, the way that it's coming to an end, the reveal, and then we see an entire new subplot emerging for Scooby and Shaggy to have their little side adventure.
So, I warned you guys before we got into some of these movies that we're gonna get into Shaggy and Scooby misadventures, and this is my absolute least favorite one. I'm like, there is no point for them to go off into this place and find this dragon and start a whole new story when you have like 15 minutes left of the movie. And so this one, it is pointless, it is unneeded, and it was purely made to fill up some time.
Yeah, that seems to be a recurring theme with this movie. Like we said, the kind of tiki cauldron thing was just, it almost seemed like that was to pass time. It does very much seem like if they'd have tried, this could have been condensed into the time of an episode.
Yeah, and they kind of treat the audience like they're idiots. Like, I understand that they're catering it to a younger demographic, and that's fine, but like,
but children
aren't stupid.
Like,
if you look back at this movie, there isn't one instance where the dragon is on screen or the symbol's on screen, and there hasn't been a character that's pointed directly at it, or the camera zoomed in on it, and they've not said, the green dragon, like they've forgotten within the space of 5 minutes. And here it's like, oh look, that's the green dragon, and it's like, well, yeah, we can see that, it's a massive green dragon, thanks for filling us in there.
Yeah, it just it gets a bit much.
But I do like the design of the dragon. It reminds me a bit of Haku from Spirited Away. Obviously, dramatically different art style, but I like how it isn't, you know, like the Morgan Le Fay sword and the Scoob dragon. Because for all I do like that look, I also appreciate the more like serpentine look of the dragon, and I appreciate that quite a bit. Again, though, I actually thought for a minute that they were going to do a reveal, and reveal that it wasn't supernatural, because when the green dragon hones in on Scooby and Shaggy, their eyes almost look like kind of the front lights of a car, like almost like beams. So I was like, oh, so maybe this is a mechanical dragon? Maybe, but ultimately that isn't the case. Well, the green dragon's he's got the power to change their clothes, which I thought was interesting. But again, this is kind of getting onto the level where it's just getting a bit silly now.
Yeah, like I said, I genuinely just don't have notes for this point. I know it sounds like I'm giving away my verdict here, but I just couldn't engage after this. I as soon as the tiki scene happened, I was starting to fall off with the movie. Just I can't. I'm not following this. I don't get this. And then for there to be the reveal, and that reveal to be completely inconsequential, like it wasn't like okay, get those people. It was just a case of, yeah, that's who it is. It was like, where's Fred's trap? What's he gonna do? How's he gonna catch these people? Like, come on, you know it's them. Do something about it. Stop them. Catch them. Do something. Don't just stand there doing nothing. And worse than that, it's not that they just do nothing. They send Shaggy and Scooby off on an entirely different side quest when you have the people right in front of you. It's like, oh, it's just so frustrating.
And they just do all they can to overcomplicate it. Like, there's a ritual now, and obviously Daphne's still acting betrayed, and I guess no one really cares. But I think the fact that Daphne's clearly happy when the reveal comes that Naomi is really on their side, and that's the triggering event for the enemies to know that they're there. That was nice, I guess, like, because she would be happy. Now, you'd have thought that after all those adventures, she would, you know, show some more restraint, especially when hiding. But it's good that they didn't choose some long-winded way of, like, revealing their location. You know, they kind of get down to it. But I just don't like how the stakes seem a lot higher, but they don't acknowledge it. Like, they cause a full-on blackout in the whole of Tokyo, and the only repercussions of that is just, oh yeah, I guess we did that. But yeah. But I just don't understand, because they don't explain the powers of the samurai, because you see the samurai activated, and they can somehow summon lightning with their sword. And it's like, are they Thor? Like, what is the significance of the sword? And
yeah, there's some kind of mythology that doesn't fit with this kind of
like setting.
Yeah.
And then not only do we get the reveal of the dragon being real, but obviously along with that we get the real life black samurai. And their agenda doesn't really conform with the, you know, the Sojo group, which makes sense, because it's like, in what universe would they summon this samurai with great power and they just don't even ask for 1 minute, oh, what if the samurai doesn't follow us? What if we get some resistance? Like, when has that ever worked? Like, you are summoning this, you know, magic, powerful being for a reason. We saw
it again to compare back. The witch's ghost. He brings Sarah Ravencroft back, and she's not just there to take stuff from him. Like, before he brought her back, it wasn't a, you know, I'm indebted to you. It's still, I'm great and powerful.
But it's like, whoever thinks that? Like, I could read about a mystical being that can shoot fireballs out their hands. They can, like, raise people from the dead. They can move mountains and summon moons or whatever. But, like, to harness their power, you need to collect, you know, several stones from around the world. I could collect those stones, but not for 1 minute I wouldn't even entertain the possibility that this being would do anything I say. And it's like, it just seems like they're reusing some old tropes that were just a bit ridiculous to begin with. Because, you know, that's the I mean, I guess perhaps, and I don't know the role of samurais in Japanese culture, but are samurais renowned for following? Like, I guess they're the guard to the, well, to the leader. They're not really the head of things necessarily, I don't think. So maybe if they come across as the leader or something, the samurai would be loyal to them. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it took a dragon to defeat the samurai last time, so how they think that they're gonna do this makes no sense. Or at least they could have got rid of the Shaggy and Scooby misadventure by reasoning that if the samurai, you know, if the dragon could defeat the samurai last time, then finding the dragon beforehand, and either, you know, wiping them out or trying to get them on their side would be a bit beneficial as well. That would have been a way to still incorporate the dragon into the story, but in a better way. But yeah, I don't really have that much left to say about this. You know, we were definitely robbed of a dragon versus samurai battle as well here, because they have this dragon that's introduced only for the dragon to then whoosh into the sword of Shaggy and Scooby.
Yeah, it's like they didn't know who they want. It's like they didn't know what they wanted with the movie. They didn't know who they wanted the movie to be about, or who they wanted to get that ultimate victory, because, you know, we start off with Daphne being the one who's got all the kind of fighting skills. And then, like you said, it's the green dragon that's all powerful, like it needs to be them. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute, Shaggy and Scooby are the heroes of this movie. Let's transfer all their power across.
Yeah, and then the sushi guy comes back halfway through the fight to start screaming about stuff, you know, from like a megaphone, which is funny, but it's like, what was so difficult about getting Daphne to fight the Black Samurai? And if not, why did they set that up to begin with? Because she literally doesn't do anything in this. Like, I said that I was a bit disappointed with Aloha Scooby Doo when she was the surfer, and in like the kind of surfing fight against the Wiki Tiki, she only jumps on his head. I mean, I would have been happy.
Yeah, Shaggy and Scooby get the award at the end, and again it was like, no, this was Daphne's plot. What are you doing? Just stay consistent.
I mean,
you said that you've still not forgiven me for saying that I passed Aloha Scooby Doo, but I stand by it.
I mean, I'll ask Smash this question. And obviously, you know, that we don't need to get into spoilers or anything, but is there a movie that we're going to cover, you know, coming up that's centered around Daphne?
So, okay. It's kind of weird. So, not exactly. So, have you guys seen Music of the Vampire?
Which one was that?
That's what the movie's called, Music of the Vampire.
Oh, yes. Okay. And that was okay, I get what you're saying, because I kind of had that vampire marriage subplot.
Oh,
so yeah.
that one.
Yeah, okay, so there's that one, and then there's another one called Moon Monster Madness, where there's this subplot kind of thing with Daphne making a friend, and then it, you know, intertwines within the story. I won't spoil anything. And then there's one more that I can think of right now called Frankencreepy, and that was technically Velma's story, but there is, again, kind of a subplot of Daphne in that one.
Yeah, I guess stage fright as well to an extent.
But I don't think... Yeah, I guess stage fright is Fred and Daphne, yeah.
See, it's weird, because this would have been the choice for one, really. And...
So I know you said you didn't have many more notes, JayBee. Does that kind of conclude on what you've got?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I want to say is the scariest part of this movie was the old man who was actually the Black Samurai. They were actually terrifying. Like, I think if I'd seen this more frequently as a child, it would have given me nightmares. But unlike with Aloha, I do feel like the Scooby-Doo statue at the end was well earned, because they do set it up at the start, like maybe you'll get a statue one day. So it isn't just like, you know, Daphne is at the front saying, oh, you know, this is a warrior who got, like, it wasn't like this is a human warrior who defeated this, you know, mythical monster in a fight, so they got a statue. I want to get a statue one day, and that's why I'm doing this competition. And then Scooby is the one with the statue. It is set up to be, okay, this is a dog hero, maybe one day Scooby you'll be a legendary dog, and they do end with them becoming a legendary dog. So that was okay, and I think it was a cute way to end it. I don't really see how else they could have done it. But yeah, that is kind of all I've got. I'm a bit disappointed because one thing I did praise the What's New era for is the visual end credits. You know, where it showed like the characters in action with, like, you know, say starring Adam West as the Wiki Tiki guy, Whereas this was kind of just like a cheap slideshow. Like it was just picture in the corner and then, you know, starring Griffin as Daphne, and it was like I didn't really like that as much, but you know, it is what it is, and that's kind of all I've got for the notes.
So if that concludes your notes, JayBee, I guess that just leaves the question for you of, are you going to say smash or pass to Scooby Doo and the Samurai Sword?
I guess one thing to get out of the way, obviously this has been a bit of a different recording style, so I kind of feel like I've not been as vocal as I would have been about some behind the scenes things, just because I just don't know that much about it. But I think hearing, you know, Smash saying that maybe Goblin King was recorded beforehand. No. Was it that this was recorded beforehand?
Yeah, I think this was recorded before.
Yeah.
Thinking.
So knowing that Goblin King may have been kind of around about the same time as this, and there were like things moving about, it kind of makes me a bit more reassured that, you know, this wasn't one of the last things necessarily that Kasem was involved in terms of like the timeline of everything. Because I think in terms of how Kasem started out in the original show, it would have been a bit of a shame if this was like the legacy thing that they went out on. And I guess to an extent it is, but I just kind of want to say that, like, I don't think this ruins their performance, you know, like, their legacy remains intact. It's just a bit of a shame that this was the one that kind of ended things in terms of
and
mythology.
I mean, in terms of anything that we say against this movie, like, the character performances weren't bad for me personally. As how it was written, I guess, is something to specify. I
mean, there have been some like ones that weren't that great in terms of some of the guests, I think, from like Pirates Ahoy, which was a good movie, but I think everyone does a good job acting as the characters in this. So I think I had a good time for that aspect. But I think I'm going to pass this just on the grounds that I think it went on for like half an hour too long. They really did waste a good character in Daphne, and they wasted a good subplot within the kind of Taskmaster fight pattern engineering. And it just wasn't fun. And if it isn't fun, then it's like, I know that I'm not going to get the most complex story out of it, but if I can have fun, if there's good music, then it's a win. And I don't really think that they delivered in that. So I'll definitely pass Scooby Doo and the Samurai Sword. But Milly, would you smash or pass the Samurai Sword?
Oh, like I said, I mean, it's fair to say that for the duration of this channel, I've been perhaps more vocal in my opinions than JayBee. And I'm prepared to go out on a limb and say this has been by far my least favourite of all the ones we've done. Like, I don't know. From the first 10 minutes I was with the movie, I was like, this is interesting, it's different, I can follow this. And I just feel like every character that was introduced, I just felt like I didn't know enough about them, I couldn't engage with them, so then I started to get disinterested. Then it just felt like there was all these random places and with like the tiki story, and I was just, as it was, I was struggling to understand the characters, but then I started to struggle to understand the location and then the plot. And it just all seemed to fall apart quite quickly. And then, as we said, it could have been wrapped up so quickly, and it didn't seem like them. Like we said, there's like, maybe I'm thinking more of Mystery Incorporated here, but there are some quite specific personality traits, like, you know, Fred's about his traps and stuff, and it just didn't make any sense why the villains were still like running around without any consequence. It was still progressing, there was other side missions, and you knew like what was going on and what it was. To me, there was just so much of it that didn't make sense. I didn't really like it, and I don't think it's one that I want to watch again. So yeah, it's kind of a very definite pass for this one for me personally. But again, maybe there was stuff that I was missing that I don't understand, that's kind of background stuff towards like the filming of this. It could be that the plot changed slightly because of the last one doing so well with the supernatural elements? I don't really know. But of course, given that information, that's why smASH is our expert. So of course we want to know. smASH, would you say smash or pass for Scooby Doo and the Samurai Sword?
Right. So where do I begin? Okay, well, you get my childhood story on
Woo!
again. Um, so again, this movie came out kind of when I was a little more rejuvenated with Scooby. Um, kind of like, ooh, getting every release, on the day of release and stuff. This one, I still feel a little bad, but this movie came out on my dad's birthday, and I was like, we have to go get it. I don't care. It's your birthday. I want it. So uh, we went and got it on his birthday. And uh, again, the friends I had at the time were like really into Scooby with me because, again, I was kind of like, you're my friend. You like Scooby. Sorry. But we were all excited to watch this one, especially after Goblin King. And I think first watch, it's, when I was younger, it was fun. It was a fun movie. But again, I was young, so there was a lot of stuff I didn't quite pick up on or understand and stuff. Um, and it was such a weird time because it's like, what's new, what's over. They were doing Shaggy and Scooby Doo Get a Clue. And we were also just about to go into Mystery Incorporated, and we had the first live action movie since 2004 come out on Cartoon Network this year. So it's a really, really weird, like, transitional period for Scooby right now. And so everything just felt off with Scooby right now. And that's how I feel about this movie. This movie just felt off. Like, I don't know what it was. I don't, I mean, it was a lot of things. The characters fell off. I do have to say, though, the whole, like, scene of them going through their catchphrases has become a meme across the internet now, and everybody's like, oh, clearly Fred F-bomb stuff. It's kind of funny, but it wasn't until after this movie came out that Frank Welker finally was like, okay, I'm gonna make an official catchphrase for him, which is hold the phone. That's Fred's official catchphrase now, which is hold the phone. So I do have to say too that, like, the whole kind of tribe moment when they're like being sacrificed and stuff, to me almost felt like the Jaguaro episode from the Scooby Doo show. I was like, oh, why are we all of a sudden doing an episode in this movie? Like, because a lot of what they did within that sequence felt like what they did with the Jaguaro episode, where they kind of dropped in the jungle on an emergency landing, and the natives were spooked by the planes. They all hid, but then they were angry because they thought the gods sent this massive bird to come destroy them. So they were coming to, murder the gang and stuff, and whoever else was on the plane, and sacrifice them. So they were on the run, and then that's why the Jaguaro showed up, because it was like, oh, the gods are angry, I gotta protect the land type of thing. And so a lot of that whole sequence just felt like they were trying to do another Jaguaro episode in a different-ish way. But uh, overall, I have to say, I really like the villain. I thought the Black Samurai was really cool and kind of intimidating, but not well utilized at all. And something I really do want more often in Scooby movies, I've stated, is kind of end battles. So while I appreciate, that there was kind of a battle at the end of this movie, again, Daphne was robbed of this battle, and it could have gone way better, way better. And like, yes, traps are fun. We need traps for Fred and stuff. I do feel a little bit, like he should at least try a trap, and then if it doesn't work, have a battle type thing with the monster. One, it wasn't necessarily a battle, but one that I really liked was Legend of the Vampire, where they were kind of facing off the Yowie Yahoo at the end. That's kind of a battle, so to speak, that I
Yeah.
really appreciate for Scooby Doo. But Yeah, honestly, I haven't had a lot to say about this movie. Again, it has been a hot minute since I've seen it, but even then, I don't love this one, and I do feel bad that Casey Kasem's last portrayal as Shaggy in this movie. No, he wasn't done with Scooby Doo quite yet. He did portray Shaggy's dad in Mystery This, but Casey Kasem's legacy of the general thoughts of him as Shaggy, it's still a little disappointing that it's such a, kind of not great movie that we're ending him on, like after this, that would have done better. Not a whole lot, and I have to pass this one too. This has always been one when we started this. I knew immediately I'm passing, and nothing is changing my opinion on this one. Hey, so.
It's always interesting when we, it's always interesting because with there being 3 of us, it's really interesting to kind of see the dynamic of, oh, we all agree when this one's a pass, or we all agree if this one's a smash, or if there's a balance, why things are different. But I just feel like we all kind of seem to agree on a lot of the points in this. I guess you know this Scooby community at large more than we do. In general, would you say this was one that most people would agree was a pass?
Yeah, this one is definitely one that I feel like a lot of fans kind of ignore and don't really bring up. A lot of people bring up Goblin King way more than this one. They kind of are like, oh, Goblin King's the end of what's new, not Samurai Sword. So overall, yeah, this is one that a lot of people don't talk about a lot. And although, we do appreciate it for the setting and being in where they were and everything, we do acknowledge and appreciate that. But overall, yeah, this one is definitely a lesser amongst the community.
Okay.
So I guess that wraps things up, except I guess speaking about the community, I don't suppose we had any news this week. I'll try and think of some, but Smash, are you aware of any news that happened with anything in terms of Scooby?
The only thing that's not major, there's some picture books it looks like that are being released kind of randomly, which is kind of exciting. But something else to note is the Daphne and Velma novels. The 3rd book is supposed to be coming out, but it keeps getting delayed because of COVID. So I guess look forward to some literature coming up.
Hey, that's actually really cool, because I've been getting myself through the first one. Hopefully I'll get onto the second one soon. So, hey, that would actually be a pretty decent, smash up our special one day. That might be fun. But I don't think I've got any community news. I really don't think I do. So, yeah, unless Milly, have you found anything on your travels throughout the internet?
No, nothing that I can think of.
Okay.
Which I guess just leaves us to say that next week we'll be moving on to,
I think it's Abracadabra-Doo. Abracadabra Scooby Doo. Which again is one that I've never ever seen. So
No,
like
neither have
Goblin
I.
King, at least Milly and I will be coming at this with fresh eyes.
I think it was quite interesting though, because the Goblin King, I did again going back to last week now, but I didn't think I was gonna like that.
So maybe this will subvert expectations as well. So if you do want to hear that, please make sure to tune in next Saturday. But I guess while we wrap things up, Smash, where can we find you on the Tinterwebs?
Yeah, I'm excited for you guys to see Abracadabra-Doo because a lot of people say it is the same kind of feeling of Zombie Island. So it goes very dark again amongst atmosphere and story. So I'm really excited to hear your guys' thoughts on it. But you guys can find me over on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Ashton Hardy _. And on YouTube, I'm smASH, obviously. And you can find me if you just search Ashton Hardy.
Thank you. So I guess that wraps up another episode of the Smash or Pass show. please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to JayBee, Milly, and smASH. Sayonara, everyone.